In preparation for Natori-Ryu, there isn't really too much to do right now as of information for Natori-Ryu because in 2014 all the information gets kicked off. But since people should be warming up to the general, you know, samurai theme, I have been practicing, trying my best to memorize uh, saya, you know, like the parts of the katana itself. So sheath of it is like the saya, the suka is the handle, and what you're about to see here is me working on some Tsukamaki. I kept thinking it was Tsukabaki with a B. I'm totally, it's my bad, sorry. But it's Tsukamaki, I guess, with a M. Tsukamaki. So handle wrap, basically, right? Um, so again, you're gonna see me practicing some handle wrapping or Tsukamaki uh, on a katana. This is Ivan's katana. I'll explain. This is Ivan's katana and stuff like that. He brought me over his swords for me to do this, and I figured what perfect opportunity to show some practice on some katana and katana parts, just dealing with it other than swinging it around and how to use it and chop someone's head off with it, but actually know all the details about it. Is what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a sword with labels. So I'm actually going to have one sword out of all the many of swords that I have with a little label, with a little piece of paper labeling it in Suka, Suba, Saya, stuff like that. And then a piece of tape going over it to keep it clear coated and protected. And then I'll show you that here in a bit. This is the first handle that we're doing. So I have one handle going here. You can see my work so far, and basically it's easier to just smack out the dowel, take the handle completely off the sword, so that way you're not sitting there braiding, twisting, and messing up the blade, and or having the blade mess you up, right? So instead, you just take the handle off. Now it's much easier to work with. You can take it and hold it and put it in between in a holding vise, whatever, right? And then I start at the very top. I put the first layer on, and then you put metal fitting right over it. So that way I'm not gluing anything or anything like that. Just done traditionally, wrapped, and it's tightly kept on there using metal fittings. If anyone asks about the sword, it's nothing special. It's not a Paul Chen or Musashi or anything like that. I don't know where Ivan got it, but this is Ivan's sword, not mine. Give you guys a taste of me doing this right here to show you that in preparation of Natori-Ryu, I am practicing parts of the katana and how to put them together properly, how to rewrap my sword handle, how to tie the sword to the waist, the proper knots and stuff like that. This is all stuff that we definitely need to get into more and more as we get deeper into Natori-Ryu. I'm trying to keep it, like decent. See, is what I do is I actually make sure that the wrapping lands right on one side. It lands right above the hole of the dowel. On one side we have the open hole, making sure that you have access to the dowel easily, so that you can knock it out and you can knock it back in. I just move this aside to knock it back out. Just push a little pin or something down there, use a hammer, ping, 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 knock it out. Comes out that end. You need to knock it back in. Instead of going this end, you go right back the way you came. So yeah. And again, with diving pattern, trying to keep it the same as possible. I've seen some people use little little cardboard or paper pieces to actually space out the braid so that it's perfectly even, diamond shaped all the way around. And you just wrap right around those cardboard pieces. And then when you're finished, you take all the cardboard pieces out, it leaves a perfect pattern. But I like to eyeball it and actually practice forming the diamond shapes with my fingers and winging it. So that way, again, it's more practice, Practice makes perfect. So yeah, there's just a taste of what I have done so far. Now you guys will see me doing a little bit more. I had to fix the other side, make sure it was complete, right? It wraps around flat on the edge, so that way it's completely flat on the edge. And then when we come to the middle, make sure that you keep the same pattern. So in other words, this side goes underneath, this side goes over the top. So next time on the other side you want to do the same thing. This side goes underneath, this side goes over the top. So you always have that same repeating pattern so that these look and stay the same, and you end up with the same diamond gaps. Now, I've seen some people twist down. I've heard of some people say that you should always twist up. I twist up. Pull it flat. We have one more diamond shaped. Now I pull it really, really tight. I do not release any tension whatsoever. And I switch to the other side. And again, pull really, really tight. Especially with this, because I'm using a unique silky thin ribbon. I'm not even using really thick cotton. It's very, very thin ribbon. So I have to pull this really, really tight for it to stay into place. So again, I have my diamond shape. Now, really move it up there. Make sure that the diamond takes form. Twist once, flatten it out, twist again, flatten this side out, and we have one more. Now, again, we go to the other side. Now we're going to work on adding one more, right? Again, I put it against something, and I use my foot as a vice hold there. This way I have both my hands free to hold the wrap in place and make my braid, smooth it out, adjust it, etc. So you see, no gaps, completely smooth, and you have it touching. Sometimes you end up with this zigzag pattern. That's what you want to see, zigzag, right? On the other side, same thing, zigzag, but you don't want to see gaps. See right here, right at top, I have a small, like just a little bit too much of a gap, and you can see the plastic in the edge. So if anything, I'm going to move this around to hide it. I'm going to move that around to hide it. But so far it's pretty consistent. Diamonds are consistent on one side. I'm starting to get a little too big down here, but at least it's halfway consistent on one side. And then the other factor is to feel it and to make sure that it doesn't move around as you actually use the sword, right? Instead of fighting to put my toe on there or something like that, I just, bam, switch it up. There we go. So now again, up and over. But now I have to remember now that I'm doing this, I have to push down instead of going up, because I'm going up. I want the braid to still go this way. So I can't instinctively go up, up now. Now I have to remind myself to go down, down, and twist them down so that it remains the same pattern. What do you think? Decent sword handle wrap? In the name of Natori-Ryu? That's how it's done. Yeah? Courtesy gift of Ivan, I've taken one of these display swords and I have labeled it according to all of the sword parts or main parts and sections of the sword um, that I really care to memorize. Okay, so what I've done is I have created these labels, as you can see, these little labels that tell the parts of the sword. Okay, as well as blade parts. Okay, but real quick, I only have certain things labeled. So, and in other words, for the blade, I only have the main parts of the blade. So, the bushi is the tip section, but then there are more. You have to remember that there's a top, a name for the top section of the tip, a name for this edge right here, this small section right here. There's a name for this section, a name for this section. There's a name for this line, or this the part where there's the where it grooves down, where it's thick, it grooves down. There's a name for this right here. Those names I don't have on here because I'm putting those on a different sword. To start with, though, we have the Tsuka, which is the handle. I have that taped to the wood, the handle of the blade. So the Tsuka. You have the saya, the sheath, or scabbard, whatever. Then you have core, or the parts of the saya. Then there's parts of the saya, right? There is the kurigata, which is the little hole that holds the segyo to the saya. Segyo cord, which is to hold the saya to your belt, or tie it to you, whatever. Koiguchi is the mouth, the opening, the hole of which the sword goes into. The hole that the sword goes into is called the koiguchi. Now, some swords have metal end caps or metal pieces to protect it and stuff like that, and they're called kojiri. If I'm pronouncing these things right? Kojiri. So there's that much of the saya. Okay? There's a few more things that I could have added, but you know what? They're details that some swords have, some swords don't. I just want the main things, right? Just the main course items that you should know by heart, as of how to label and what to call the sword parts. Oh, my suba, or in this case, some people call it seppa, but I go by suba, the handguard, suba. Okay. Then, yeah, see this part right here, I'm not too interested in, so I forgot to label it. But, because I care more about what, the design and how big and square or round should my suba be, not just handguard. But let's actually always reference it to suba. Make sure that we're actually carrying on that samurai tradition. Preparation for Natori-Ryu, right? Again, the suka, the handle. Now then you have suka, or menuki, decoration. There's like coins or little flower or dragon, those little designs and little those little metal decorations that you see underneath the string of your handle of your suka is the menuki, right? Then there's suka ito, right? Or Tsukamaki, the handle wrapping, right? The cord that goes around the suka has grip and cushion, whatever, right? The handle wrap, Tsuka ito. Now, there's usually underneath, as well as the little menuki decoration, there's also samagawa, or the stingray skin, or shark skin, that little bumpily, really the white stuff that makes everything look really cool underneath the sword handle is the samagawa, right? And I have that going underneath the wrap, so that way, I should have put the menuki underneath this wrap too, because those are the things that you see underneath the wrap. the very, very hilt of the sword, or the very end metal piece that holds, that protects the, that you can ram with or whatever, protect it, etc., to keep this wrap on and stuff like that. The kashira, okay? The last and final part to creating this entire section right here would be to pin it all together. The nakugi, okay? The pin, the dowel that holds the blade into the handle is the nakugi. Now, then we finally have the blade section. Now again, I do not have all of the details of the blade labeled, okay? I've only focused on just the main sections. The ha, cutting edge. This is the ha, is the sharp edge. Because, you know, I'm pretty much going to be using the term ha all the time. Use the cutting edge, slice through this part of the body, right? Whatever. Boshi. The boshi is the tip section of the blade. Again, there's this section of the tip right here. There's the thick part right here. There's the line. There's a few more labels. Part that goes right here, just this part where the back of the blade meets this, is called the hamachi. Okay? It's where it drops down and it's just perfectly smooth right here. Hamachi. Where this meets this is the hamachi. Okay? The habaki, okay, is this collar itself that holds the blade kind of a little bit more sturdier as compared to just having it just blade to handle. Also, keeping elements of when it's sheathed, it won't rock back and forth, dulling your blade. You know, most swords, it creates a nice tight fit. You know, this is kind of loose, but, you know, forgive the display sword for that. You know, this doesn't even have a dowel. I had to draw with a magic marker that little dot to represent the mekugi dowel. You know, so just using a display sword creates, there's a tip to help you guys like remember all these sword parts. It's just to throw some labels on them. Saya, kurigata, koiguchi, menuki decoration underneath the suka ito, or, you know, and I do the Tsukamaki is wrapping your suka ito. Stuff like that. See, now it's like I feel like I'm talking Japanese already, but really I'm just saying the sword parts, you know. So yeah, there it is. In preparation for Natori-Ryu, kind of labeling things and memorizing them, as well as learning how to actually put the sword together properly, safely, making sure that you preserve the blade, how to tie this segyo cord and your Tsukamaki, you know, the proper braid, twisting up, twisting down, whatever. You know, these are the things that we should definitely already know and have well ingrained in our knowledge base and stuff before we even take on Natori-Ryu. That's what I'm saying, guys. So if you're expecting this is just basic, like, jutsu, sword, samurai sword knowledge that you guys need, that we all need to, especially me, I mean, need to catch up to these kinds of things. So yeah, so there you go. Here's just one small idea as of how to remember sword parts, proper terms for them from the Japanese language, etc.